Hey guys, welcome back to our tutorial of Spring Batch and Spring Batch integration. This is a follow-up of controlling a step flow. In the previous video, we talked about sequential flow. So in this one, we are going to talk about conditional flow. In order to understand when and where we can use conditional flow, let's go back to our tutorial regarding on sequential flow. We were reading a file and persisting the records into database. After that, we had another step which we delete all files that we had already read. So it was sequential. Let's suppose that we read the file and the step that we use to read the file fails. In that case, it was sequential. We were just deleting files. So it's not a very nice use case. Let's suppose that our business team says, okay, you just delete the previous files if you read the new one successfully. So this is a very simple use case where we can apply conditional flow. So instead of doing that in a sequential manner, we can split the flow, not split the flow, but use a condition. So Spring Batch offers us different ways to do that. We can do it programmatically using only Java, pure Java, okay? Or we can use the Spring Batch APIs. So let's start by using the Java pure. So let's go back here on our code and let's start doing the follow. So we have here the first way in this job. If you are watching us since early, you know that we have two steps in this job, okay? We have a step which actually collects the files, okay? And we have another step, which is the first step, which reads from a file and writes into Kafka, okay? So the first step, we read the file and write into Kafka. And the team says if the job fails, we don't want to do anything. This is a condition, okay? So we can use here, for example, failed, okay? And we want to end the file, the job, okay? And the team says now to apply the previous logic, which was if we read successfully and write into Kafka, then we can delete all files. So this is the place where we are going to call the file collector. So in that order, Spring Batch once again offers us a very simple way, okay, to do that. We use here, for example, we are going to tell, okay, so let's suppose that we finish the step, okay? So it's going to be file into database. So now we give another condition, just as the previous one. Here we say if it finish with the exit status, okay, complete, then now we can go, okay, we can now collect the file. So in that order, we are going to call the file collector tasklet, which is our step. And after that, Spring Batch requires that we end the job, because we could also go to another like next or to another one. So this is the very simple way to create a conditional flow. Recapping, let's go back here. We can see that our job starts from reading from a file into database. On failed, okay, we end the job because we don't want to do anything later. We don't want to do anything next. But if from the same, okay, step, let's suppose that from file into database ends with complete, Now we want to call the file collector, which is the one that we are going to use to delete, okay, our files. If you are new here, just take a look. We have created here in previous this tasklet, okay, which we use to delete the files. So take a look and let's go back here. So this is a very simple way to do that. Let me just here run the application. The application is up. Now what we are going to do in order to test our application is, first we want to, for example, send a file which contains bad records. Okay, so the application, the exit status will be failed. So let's go copy the file and set it here. Okay, processed. So let's see what's happening. So the file contains bad records, okay, and then we can see that we just run the first one, okay, from file into database, because we can see here, for example, don't look at the job itself, but let's go, for example, here in our database. So let's go, for example, in our step, let's just find this one. The last step was from file into database. This is the only step that we run, okay. As we can see, the exit status, okay, is failed. The status is failed, okay. So the status was failed. Let's go here. So was failed, so we end the job, so nothing will happen. So now let's run once again our Spring Batch application using a good file, okay, a file which contains correct records, which will allows us to process with success. Let's copy, let's put it here. Wow, okay, we just placed the file which contains good record. As we can see, before, okay, we only execute one step, and now we put a file which contains, actually it's just to demonstrate, which contains correct records, and we can see that first we run the step which was from file into database. Actually it's from file into Kafka, but let's just see it. And later we execute the second step. So if we go here on, let's see here, for example, let's check the job execution or the step execution, and let's run. So we can see that the first, I'm putting here descending, okay, so the first step was from file into database, complete, okay, and the second one was file collector, complete. So this is very simple way to use conditional flow. So now let's check how we can do that with more detailed Spring API, okay? So in order to achieve this requirement, or to make it more challenge, let's create here a new flow. Okay, we go here and we say, okay, we go from file into database. Actually, let me just rename it. It's not from file into database, it's from file into Kafka. You can leave it into database if you want, but for me it's just making me feel so okay. From file into Kafka. All right, maybe here. Yeah, so what we are going to do here, okay, we will keep this, okay, this flow here, from file into Kafka. On fail, we're gonna end the job, okay? And let's say like on, and let's just put it a new exit status, like our custom exit status. Let's just put it by, for example, completed with skips, okay? So this it will be when the job completes, but we have some lines skipped, okay? So here we are going to another step. Let's just, for example, for now, put it here now, and let's maybe put end here, okay? So the first thing that we have to do here is to change. We have to find somehow to use our custom exit status. So how can we change the exit status of a job, of a step in this case? The simple way to do that is using your step execution listeners, or even step execution listener support. So we have here in the previous video, we have created this one, which is a custom step execution listener. So for the custom step execution listener, now we can, for example, check if we have some lines which were skipped. We're gonna change, okay, the exit status, okay? Here, let me just remove this. So what we are going to do here is we are going to take the step execution, okay, and let's say yeah, here first. I think we can do it here, okay? Here, let's do something like, okay, if step execution that get skip, okay, read, yeah, this is, okay, read skip count, okay, will be, for example, is greater than 0, then we are going to return, okay, a new exit status, which is the complete with skips. Very nice, man, very nice. So if you can see, let me just put it here to be more clear. So we check first if the exit status is complete, and I'm just doing it. You could just do it another place here, but for me, let me just do it like that. So, and we check if we have skipped any line, okay? If we skip any line, we are going to return a new exit status. That's why I was telling you guys that you cannot mess around. You have not to be confused here. We are using the exit status of a batch, okay, of a step, sorry, exit status of the step, not the batch status, which is different. So since now it's very nice, the next thing maybe that we have to do is to create the actually tasklet which gonna print any message. For example, let's suppose that we are sending email, okay? Let's just for now. So let's go here in our step, okay, as we did with this one. Let's create here, for example, send email. Let's just create it like that. It's just an example. As you know, it should implement the tasklet interface. The tasklet interface contains only one method, and here we apply our business logic. For example, you could send email or something like that, but in our case, let's just log. In order to make this tutorial more easier, let's just log, okay, and then we can, for example, you remember guys, previous videos, I told you about the contribution of a step, and let's just get read skip count. Okay, let's just put it like that. What we are logging here is just, for example, we are simulating that we are sending email, okay, and the message will be the amount of data that we have skipped. Okay, the job has completed, but let's suppose 10 lines was skipped. Okay, and here, if you remember, we have to return the repeat status. So repeat status finished. Remember, we have two, continuable and finish. Okay, both receives a boolean. This one continuable. Okay, we are going to continue. Okay, finish, it's false. Okay, this is true, this is false. So we are going to stop here. So please explore a little bit more in the documentation and you will understand what we are doing here. So now that we have here our send email, let's just go back here and let's inject it here. Okay. So now we have our send email. Now let's create our tasklet step. Okay, we need a tasklet step. So let's just do it. Public step. Let's just call it by this one, and let's return the step builder factory. Step builder factory we have injected there. Okay, this is a way to very nice factory to create a step. Let's call it send email tasklet step. This is the name of our step, and let's set a tasklet. Remember, we can set a chunk or we can set a tasklet. So in our case, we are setting the tasklet, which is send email, because send email implements tasklet. Okay, I don't want to go back here and say to you guys that okay, send email implements the tasklet. So, and yeah, that's all. That's all. Let me just now set it as a bin. Yeah. So here now, instead of setting null, let's use the send email tasklet. Okay. And let me just organize it well. It should not be the end, so let's just put it like, for example, like this. Yes. So this is the way that we have to create our conditional flow. Okay. So the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to process a file which will cause the fail exit status. And the next thing that we are going to do, we are going to test also a file which will complete with success. And we're gonna check if it actually gonna collect the files, okay? And then we are going to process another file which contains some line to skip in order to see if the tasklet of send email will be triggered. So let's now run our application. Okay? Now the first thing that we are going to do, let me just push it a little bit down. Okay, the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to process a file which contains very bad records. Okay, so let's go this file, paste the file. Okay, let's check. Okay, the job executed the first step, which is from file into Kafka, and nothing else. As we can see here, only one step has been executed. So now let's test the complete case. So here, let's take this file which contains correct lines. Let's process, and now let's see here in the logs. So we can see that we have executed from file into database step, okay, and then we execute the file collector, so this one. So this is a very nice use case to show you guys how to use conditional flow. So the last thing that we have to do, the last use case that we have to test is process a file which contains lines to skip, okay, and then we have to see if the tasklet step send email will be triggered. So let's see here. Okay, as we can see, we execute the first step, which is the start step. Then, okay, the exit status has been changed to complete with skips, where we did it here on our custom step execution listener. So we have some lines to skip, so we skip the lines, and then we go back here and we see that we are sending email. So this is a very nice way to implement a conditional flow. Okay, so we had a step one, and we had some conditions that we have created here. So guys, I hope you enjoy this video, and if you really like this video, please subscribe and don't forget to leave some comments or ask some questions we can solve together. So as a bonus, you remember guys that I told you that there is another way for programmatically control a decision flow. So I have just created here using a job execution decider. So this is for you guys to complete this let's call it this assignment, okay, for you guys. It's a bonus. So guys, hope you enjoy and see you in the next video.